watching this, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Look, I just had to get on here, and this is not going to even be a long video. But when I tell y'all, I am so astounded by how the number of psychopaths that are being appointed to the federal government. I am absolutely shocked. Okay, because there were people that did not cross my mind, although they should have. Okay, but this shit does not, racism never ceases to amaze me. Because the most extreme Republicans are being appointed to the federal positions. The fact that Elon Musk is giving interviews saying things like, well, I'm not the president, not by name, but I do the work of this, that, and the other. And he's supposed to be head of government efficiency, so to take out things that aren't working, but yet you're creating a new government position, okay, that takes federal funding. And we know Elon Musk is not going to work for cheap, okay? He, however, will have a government position which creates more bureaucracy to oversee the bureaucracy. But that's not what got me. As raggedy as he is, okay? Ghost, Skeletor face looking ass. It was the announcement today, okay, some hours ago, of fucking Matt Gaetz, House representative from Florida, now officially accepting the tap to be fucking Attorney General. Let me tell you something. I've been following Matt Gaetz up for quite some time now. Not because I've ever been impressed with his politics. They are typical, extreme, right-wing, racist politics. Let me talk about the woke, radical black people and how they deserve to be shot and this, that, and this, that, and this, that. All that fuck shit bringing black people into Congress so you can make a show of the racism and demean and degrade them. He's hostile. He's insane. He has also been under investigation for years now, since COVID, for things like sex trafficking, for the violation of federal sex trafficking laws. He's the same one who asked Donald Trump to pardon him before he left office in 2020 because he was under investigation for these things. Okay? So it was in 2021 that the public learned, okay, because the New York Times had reported the prosecutors were investigating Matt Gaetz, had a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old in 2019, okay, and paid for her to travel with him in violation of federal sex trafficking laws. Now, the person who was responsible, and this was part of a broader investigation by the Justice Department into Gaetz' longtime associate, who was also known for his criminal behavior in Florida. His name was Joel Greenberg, okay? Now, Joel Greenberg is pleaded guilty. He's the one who arranged the travel. They have Matt Gaetz' Venmo receipts from when he paid this young girl to travel and pay for all this stuff. Like, it's actually in the app. Joel Greenberg is now in jail for this. He pleaded guilty in 2021 to 6 felony counts of sex trafficking, wire fraud, conspiracy, identity theft, and stalking. But this was the person that was working for him. And he's been able to keep prolonging this and prolonging it and prolonging it, probably hoping the statute of limitations will run out. This is who Donald Trump, sexual assaulter and rapist himself, 34-count convicted felon, has as the Attorney General. They're brazen. They have no fucking shame. He has raped, sexually assaulted women, talked about seeing a little 10-year-old girl and saying in 10 years, I'll be dating her. And he's done this for years. And then you have Matt Gaetz. These are all people down in Florida. Trump connected to Epstein, who was trafficking these young girls all these years. And now these people are in position to determine what kind of cases the Justice Department is going to prosecute. Mind you, he never even worked that long as a lawyer. And anybody can get into a firm when their daddy was political and local in Florida or anywhere else. So he's never had any real legal experience. He's 42 years old. He jumped in the House of Representatives because somebody had to take like an early retirement, something like that. And then he got into the Congressional House of Representatives, and he's been there for a few years. He goes around with Marjorie Taylor Greene, the extremists. They were Trumpers all the way through, wearing the MAGA hats during Joe Biden's State of the Unions. Like when Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, say her name, talking about that woman at the border, appropriating what Kimberly Crenshaw and black women have been fighting for and stealing that. And Kimberly Crenshaw came out and got her ass together. Okay, and Jasmine Crockett did too. But my thing is, these kinds of people running federal agencies while also claiming they're going to tear the government apart, no, they're not. They're just going to make the government work even more consistently and effectively for white races. It already works for them. But this puts young girls at risk, young boys, and the perpetrators don't get prosecuted. Because this motherfucker is going to let them off. What they're going to do is they're going to be attacking black people who are fighting for their rights. That's what these kind of white people do. And the country voted for it overwhelmingly. The Marco Rubios, the white Cuban from Florida, self-hating, senator, doesn't like immigrant, all this other stuff. And here you are, your family immigrated here from Cuba when Castro put y'all's asses out. This is what I'm talking about, the hypocrisy of it all. And these people, I am no psychologist, but every one of them most of them demonstrate the characteristics of a fucking psychopath. Because they're violent too. Marco Rubio's gonna be running the war. Are you fucking kidding me? And y'all need to realize how dangerous this is. Because when y'all know I've gotten on here, I've talked about Naziah Harris, I've talked about Piper Lewis, I've talked about Crystal Kaiser, and there are a ton of other young black women who have been trafficked. Unfortunately, Satoya Brown is probably one of the, most well-known examples of girls who were trafficked and killed the person who had been raping and abusing them. Now, people have been talking about the Menendez brothers, and my heart goes out to them. They murdered their parents. That was wrong. Period. Hard stop. But now these are white boys who are rich, who had money for lawyers. The black girls I just mentioned all have public defenders and don't have a voice. And I do think that those things need to be reconsidered, because at the point in which somebody is sexually abused and murders someone, like, their parents, we need to really study the psychology of what happens to somebody to be abused so badly that they literally feel like the only choice, if I'm going to survive anything, is I have to kill this person, because that's the level of abuse and power they have exerted over them. So I'm not, I think if anything, the Menendez brothers, yes, have served their time. But I know that in this country, white people will take care of white people. So I got to worry about ours. And I know people like Matt Gaetz will do things to destroy every possible African-American form of freedom there is. Period. He's Jewish. And then they try to manipulate you. It's not that I don't have compassion for what happened to Jewish people in the Holocaust, but it's not the same thing as chattel enslavement for centuries. And this is why they don't have any sort of empathy. People like Matt Gaetz don't, because they still get to live in their whiteness. He has already, let me tell you how confident this son of a bitch is. He, as short as Trump tapped him, because the Senate has to confirm you. He has now resigned from his seat. Talking about you can't have too many absences. There is an 8-week transition period. How many weeks we got left in this year? Because there's a Republican House, there's a Republican Senate, and a Republican government. Federal executive branch. And the court has been stacked by Donald Trump. And y'all need to realize how scary this is. And how actual and factual their appointments are. And the bottom line is, because I told you, people don't need to come asking me for nothing. I'm worried about me and mine and my family because that's all I can protect. And those are the things that are most important to me. But also, the bottom line is that even though they will inevitably screw over other poor white people who have voted for them because they just didn't want a black person in office, we always know when white people get hit, we get hit hardest. And so it's not just about me. No, I'm not a public school teacher. I'm a private school teacher. But I know what it is to need a loan from the government to go to college. I know what it is in graduate school. I don't want no kid out there who's smart enough, who needs a Pell Grant, having those things snatched away. Who do you think those things affect? So anyway, this is just my thoughts because really I can feel my blood pressure going up. I'm not trying to get y'all's up, but we got to follow this and put pressure on these people because this is disgusting. It really is disgusting. And investigators, previously, now the question is, are they allowed to continue this probe on this congressman federally if he has left his office? So, NBC reported, this is also from Newsweek, and I'll put the link down there. Investigators were looking at whether Florida congressman committed 3 distinct crimes if he sex trafficked a minor, if he violated the Mann Act, which bars transporting any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery or for any other immoral purpose across state lines, and if he obstructed justice. That's already a lot. That kind of investigation don't come for no reason. In September 2022, after more than 2 years of investigating Gates, prosecutors have recommended that no charges be filed against the Florida congressman. However, 5 months later, in February 2023, the department formally closed the investigation. The House Ethics Committee, however, is also investigating whether Gates violated sex trafficking laws. In September, Gates said in a statement, this year, that he would no longer voluntarily cooperate with that probe because they had enough people. He has what was the House minority leader is now the House majority leader who is looking out for him. But the ethics investigation, nevertheless, is ongoing. But it would cease if he gets put in a position he's confirmed by the Senate, and the Senate is in their favor. Now, he's done some polarizing things, but the bottom line is Republicans stick together, especially in their whiteness, especially black people who want their whiteness, especially Latinos, as we see, who want their whiteness. Where's the United Nations? Because at this point, we a third world country who needs their assistance. Because this is out of control. So I had to get that off my chest. I'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all have a good week. Bye.